of ourselves. But again, in this wrestling world, it seems to be like there are no friends. Anyway, I'm going to move off Vince Steele. I'm going to bring up something I'm going to ask you both to weigh in on. We're going to start with Pharaoh first, but I'm going to read it first something. And again,
what?
if you don't agree with me,
What is
it's
this?
fine. Okay? It's fine.
What is this?
All right.
What is that?
A gentleman by the name of Evan Ginzburg, who Jimmy and I think Eric knows. Jimmy will start and tell the story how we met Evan, but basically is this. I most recently found that Evan has now wrote a book about himself. Okay? So I took the painstaking amount to write this review on the book, which I'm going to read, and then I'm going to ask you guys to weigh in on, okay? Evan Ginzburg's Wrestling Rings, Blackboards, and Movie Sets is a tedious and uninspiring read that fails to deliver anything of real substance. And by the way, I got the book and I read it, and I could barely get through it. Okay.
Got the book.
Known for his dry, unengaging writing style, Ginzburg, who frequently contributes to pro wrestling stories, brings the same lackluster storytelling to his book. At its core, the book is essentially about an ordinary guy who spent years paying wrestlers to appear at his events or his home before stumbling on a lucky break when film producers happened to walk in on an event that he was attending. The narrative lacks any real excitement, depth, or compelling insight into the wrestling business. Instead, it reads like a self-indulgent account of someone who happened to be in the right place at the right time, rather than a meaningful contribution to wrestling literature.
Literature.
Beyond the weak storytelling, Ginzburg himself is not someone I recommend supporting. His writing doesn't just lack flair. It lacks the passion and energy that wrestling fans look for in a book about the industry. If you're expecting an insightful, behind-the-scenes look at wrestling or filmmaking, you'll be sorely disappointed. I highly do not recommend Wrestling Rings, Blackboards, and Movie Sets. There are far better books out there that actually capture the spirits of professional wrestling and is larger than life in personality. This one, it's dull, he's a slog, and it's not worth your time or money. And that is my opinion, and that is Mike Monte's review on the Evan Ginzburg book. Start with this, Jimmy, if you could just share with the audience how you met Eric, and do you disagree? Am I a little too tough on Mr. Sims? I'm going to disappear while you have your comment.
Met Eric? He wants me to discuss how I met you, or are we still talking about Evan Ginzburg? Where did he go? Did he have to go to the potty?
Evan.
Is that what happened?
Evan, not Eric.
Talk about Evan.
Evan.
Talking about Evan. Well, in the very early days, when we first got started, we started at a studio we weren't so thrilled with. So we noticed another local studio, and we were very attracted to the fact, and Eric, I think you could see why. We were just two fans getting into this in the beginning. And Evan Ginzburg, who was the associate producer of The Wrestler, was doing a show at that station, which was local to us in Huntington. And we were like, wow, that kind of excited us. And we thought that was a cool thing. So let's do it with, the same station he does it at. That's how we came across Evan. My impressions of Evan, and I don't really, I don't think I really know how you feel about Evan, to tell you the truth. My impressions of Evan over the course of time is that if you didn't think exactly like him, and Eric, I'm being honest here, you and I don't exactly always think alike, but I do like you and I do respect you. And that's what makes the world, go round. I noticed that with Evan, if you don't live inside his particular very small philosophical box, you are really vilified. And that's always been the underlying problem. There's some sort of arrogance there. And I guess what Mike's trying to get at is some guys think that they're really, really in the business, but are they really?
Everybody has a role. If everybody has a role, in the business, whatever it is. Evan's been around a long time, and he's managed Johnny V and Nicole Bass, and he's been around a long time.
Wait a minute. What does manage mean? Get a little deeper than it.
Like help,
Manages a
like help get bookings for and like that.
So again, going back, not to interrupt, but going back to this whole conversation is anybody can manage anybody as long as you have money, right? It's really that simple nowadays. And even back then, there's nothing special about so to call him a manager. I don't know.
Well, it used to be special because like my black book used to mean something back in the day. It don't mean anything right now because too easy to access talent because of social media or other platforms. So anybody can contact the wrestler and book them for any appearance if you know how to do it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Unless the talent is exclusive to a specific agency, or whoever, you can contact that talent.
So, okay, so I heard Eric on, he has this show, I guess, but not Eric. I'm sorry, Evan. I heard Evan on the show. I keep on doing that same thing. I heard Evan on a show, and he was talking about his friends that he has in wrestling, right? And this led me to start to think, do you really have friends in wrestling? So let me make a couple of things clear here. Evan, likes to tout that, Nicole Bass was his friend, and Greg Valentine's his friend, and Jimmy Valiant, who you just had, Eric, was his friend. Who are the two? We had Chubby on. Who was the other guy? Joe Goodhart said on the show, just because someone sleeps in your house doesn't mean you're in the wrestling business. So my point is this, man. Evan can claim he has friends. Again, this is all of us, right? It's like you can claim they're your friends because it makes you feel good. But the fact of the matter is, if you don't have the cash, they're not going to be your friend. I'm sorry. I don't believe it. I won't buy it. Again, I just don't get it. And my whole point about the book, guys, is this. What kind of audacity does it take to write a book about yourself when you're fucking nobody? And I meant what I said. Sims, if you were at Wrestling Universe when the wrestler was a twinkle in Arnowski's Darren's eye about making this movie, you would have been associate producer. Or Jimmy, if you were promoting that day, you would have been the associate producer. So, I meant what I said. Right place, right time. Let's not try to act like it's anything more special than that. This is facts, man.
Good title for your resume.
Yeah, I'll tell you, to me, being in my situation, being married to Karen McDaniel, Wahoo McDaniel, all the stories I've heard, wrestlers, I can see with Karen that, yes, Karen is very good friends with Manny Fernandez and stuff, but she should be. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people that, like you said, Mike, just because they sleep on your couch for a night, you're paying them. You're paying them to be there. And this is not a knock. This is actually, I think it's kind of cool. Wrestlers back in the day, to me, were traveling gypsies. They crashed on many couches. That was part of the business. Sometimes they were with friends, whether somebody was crashing here with Wahoo. Wahoo would bring someone home to crash on the couch, way different. I remember Zach telling me, Wahoo's son, that there was a time period where a very young CM Punk slept over on the couch for like 3 days when he was first getting started. And Zach remembers CM Punk. And he saw him years later, and Punk was like, wow, you remembered me, So it was just like, interesting stuff. But as far as a lot of these people go, they pay them. The bottom line is they pay them. I think without Mickey Rourke, to be very honest, without Mickey Rourke, no one's talking about the wrestler. Everybody owes Mickey Rourke that ass kiss moment. So go kiss his ass because he's the one who made it. He was the Rocky Balboa of that film. That's how great that film was, and he made it that way. It was so real.
I think that everybody